In this lesson, you're going to see the full technical setup of a webinar system, straight from the opt-in all the way through to the follow-up automation. I'll be recording my screen inside Alvear, which handles all of these steps in the one place. So by the end of this lesson, your full webinar system will be set up and ready to go. So you'll have the registration page, a confirmation and a reminder sequence, and then the Zoom connection. I'll show you where to place that. A replay email and a follow-up sequence all running automatically. And of course you can pause as we go along and start and stop so that you can catch up. So let's get into it. Step one is to create the opt-in form. We're going to start by building this form that will sit on the registration page. This is where it collects the registrant's details and the email address and adds them to the list where you'll be sending the emails. Inside of Alvear, head to websites and funnels and then across to forms. And you can either head into the form templates that we've got here already, or you can say add form, and these same templates are within the add form. And you can see here that we've got a webinar registration basic form that will be placed onto a funnel or registration page. And then we have the webinar registration as a standalone page. So this is if you're not wanting to have the additional steps of the confirmation page and the broadcast page afterwards. So let's choose the webinar registration basic form. I'm going to call this one demo registration. Okay. And of course you can edit these details here if you're wanting their full name and email address, or if you're just wanting first name and email address. You can also pop in some other elements onto the form if you need to, such as where did you hear about us, or if you're wanting to capture any kind of other information, at what stage they're at in their journey of health, that sort of thing. So you can use these ones here to pop it onto the form. If you're wanting to go a little bit more personal, you can say something like register now or save my spot. Works well here too. So you would just highlight this and change the details that are on there. The color settings can be done from in here as well, from colors and backgrounds, aligning it with your brand identity. If you're wanting to know who's registered or if people have registered, you can turn on the notification here as well. So you get a notification on this one. Don't worry about the autoresponder. We're going to be setting that up as the confirmation sequence. So don't turn this one on, but you can set yourself an email to come through once people register. This one here shows as a grey background. It's actually transparent so that we can inlay it onto the registration page so that we're not having a random colour in the background. If you're wanting to find out who is registered without going to your contacts list, in Alvear you can actually come to the submissions form tab here and it will show everyone who's submitted the form and who has registered. If you're not using Alvear for your website, the next step would be to integrate this form onto your website. So if you have Squarespace or WordPress website already, choose inline and then say copy embed and place that onto your website. So now that's all set up, we're going to click save and head on to the next step. In Alvear we do have webinar templates, registration templates here as well. So head into templates. I always recommend duplicating the template that we have here so that you always have a... Okay, so I'm cloning that webinar registration template in Alvear. I've given it the name and I've set the date and the location, which is my account. Next I'll say confirm. And now we can see that that new webinar registration funnel has been put in there. I'll head in. So we've got the 4 pages, registration, confirmation, the broadcast page, and the notice that it's an expired webinar. We'll head in to edit the webinar registration page. So as I mentioned in the previous lessons about what to include on your registration page, you can see here that it has a clear title and call to action, a simple form, and what they might discover within the webinar. You can go on and go into more details about what they might be struggling with, getting that connection point straight away, what they will be learning, who it's for, and about you. You can include as little as much as you want. If you're wanting to delete any of these sections, you can do so, but that all in here with the swipe copy for you to plug and play as well. And so what we're going to do next is connect the registration form that we just created and make sure that this is the one up here. So I want to make sure that it's the right one. So it's the demo webinar registration form. There we go. And I've set the action to go to the next step. So that's the next step in the funnel. Any of these colors, copywriting, images can be customized to what it is that you're aligning your brand to, or what the topic is on, of course. So make sure that you do that first. Pop your logo up the top here. A lot of funnel pages don't usually have a header and a footer, so you can remove these, and that's just so it keeps the registration page direct and without. Now we need to make sure that when someone fills in the registration form, their details are automatically added to the email list. This is what allows Alvea to send them a confirmation email and the reminders that follow. Because Alvea has emails already built in, this step is already handled. When someone submits your form, they're automatically added as a contact within the Alvea account into your contacts here. So that's automatic. So they fill the form in, their contact details are in here. What we do need to do is make sure that the contact is tagged correctly so that we can identify them as the webinar registrant and trigger the right automation later on. What we're going to do now is go into our automation. Having this automation set up, this is the step that makes your webinar system feel professional. When someone registers, they should automatically receive that confirmation email with all the details almost instantly. So within Alvea, we already have these set up for you, again, as a template done for you. Let's clone this one or duplicate this workflow and then head into the workflow. The trigger will be whenever this form is filled in, this is the flow that happens afterwards. So let's go in and choose the form that's been submitted, and the form is the demo. So that's what's going to trigger it. Next, in Alvea, we're going to add the registration tags. You can either say webinar registrant, or if you're wanting to create a new tag that's specific to the webinar that you are holding so that it's a little bit more detailed so you know which webinar they've been on to, you can create a new one directly in this action form here, or just keep it as the webinar registrant. So we'll say save action. Now we're going to set the webinar event date and time, and that's so that we know when the reminder emails should be triggered. For these actions, they're a little bit further down. So go through and set the webinar details in here. And this is the confirmation email. So although it looks like it's 3 steps in, this is all sort of done at the exact same moment because there's no delays between. So the action name is the confirmation email. Obviously changing your from details and your email addresses here as well. Change the subject line if you're wanting to, and you can either copy and paste in from the swipe file that I gave you previously directly in here, or you can create from the templates that we have in there as well, the design templates, customizing any of those with the swipe copy that we gave you. Making sure that you add the Zoom link or the webinar broadcast link within that email as well. Now you can see that the next step is to wait until 24 hours before the event appointment time. This is where you're going to set it and say 3 days beforehand, send this email, the day beforehand, send this email, 1 hour before, send this email. And those reminders can be duplicated and added to have as many or as little as you want. And you can see the delay times in between here. Now we're going to set up the part of the nurture series that comes after the webinar has been done. So that would be the confirmation and then the remaining emails afterwards. Now we're going to copy this action and set it underneath. And we'll change this one to after 24 hours. And of course, you're going to have to just remember that this is where you'll come back into this workflow once you have the recording of the webinar and add the link into the email that we're just going to place in a moment. So 1 day after the webinar, and you can say email, similar sort of thing. changing all the details that are through here from details, email details, and whether you're wanting it to be a quick response type email or from a template, so it looks a little bit prettier. But basically in here you'll come in and using the swipe copy that I've given you, you can use that as a template and add the link to where you're hosting the replay of the webinar. And then again, as we continue along, you can continue to copy this action down and just making sure that you're renaming to 1 or 2 days depending on what it is that you're wanting to do. And you can see that I changed the action name here and to wait until 24 hours after, and then I've created the email where it says email webinar replay. Again, you can copy that one down here, changing the details, and continue along as you go. Before you share the registration page with anyone, you need to complete the full experience yourself and confirm that, of course, everything works. So open up your registration page, the one that we just made. If you can open it up in an incognito window, it will help just to ensure that no caching is being in the form and that. Entering your details and hit register, then making sure that you get that confirmation page if you have designed one, and you get that confirmation email straight away in the inbox for the email address that you've received here. And you can head back into your contacts and see that they've been added into your contact list. Next, you would head over to the automation and check that your email address that you're testing it with has been added to that nurture sequence, or the confirmation and then nurture sequence, which was in webinars and here. In Alvea, you can see this in the enrollment history, so you can see exactly who's enrolled and the execution log, so at what stage they're up to in that whole workflow as well. If you're wanting to make sure that all of the steps work properly but not wanting to wait the amount of time that you've put in it, you can come back into the workflow and change those time limits to say 1 or 2 minutes apart, just making sure that you go back in and you change it to the 24 hours or 2 days, whatever it is, afterwards as well. If you've got enough time beforehand to test it with the right time frames, I recommend doing it that way, but if you're strapped on time, you can change the time limits on it. So just to rehash, that first step was creating the form and then adding the form to our registration page that you have designed or duplicated within Alvea or on your own website. The next stage is to create the automation that happens with the confirmation emails and reminders leading up to the webinar, and then the replay and the nurture series following the webinar. Once you've confirmed that everything is working, your webinar funnel is ready, you can now start promoting your registration page to your current email list or on your social media.